So, the Russians.
So it begins again. Welcome to the CreepGeeks Podcast. This is Season 10, Episode 360.
Japanese robot wolves, smart Neandertals, Lefties do it right, and wanted director of Paranormal Affairs.
Yeah. So here we are. Welcome to CreepGeeks Podcast. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of it's miscellaneous, so it's a sort of a miscellaneous BS podcast.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm sitting way farther away, discombobulated with I'm upset at these companies and corporations selling us consumer goods and stiffing us at the same time.
Okay.
Not falling for the okie doke. I'll give you an example. I bought a shirt, right?
Yes.
I bought it online. I don't have to go in. There it is. The colors are close enough. And I get it, and it shows up to the house. It was delivered, of course, because, you know, I'm keeping America gainfully employed with delivery services. And the actual price tag was cut off.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, I paid $17 for this shirt.
Yeah.
What did it used to be? Why would they cut the label off? Like, why would they cut the tag off? And you know, this is from a small store called Walmart. Right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they got throwaway shirts. And I'm thinking to myself, what if the shirt was really $9, but I paid double?
Yeah.
Because of surge pricing. This nefarious thing now where different times of the day, prices are higher or lower depending on where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be standing in front of the cookie aisle trying to make a decision on which, you know, garbage flavored Oreo cookie you're going to get, and the price goes from $3.29 or whatever, right, to $6.49. So how does that work? So you could be putting stuff in your cart. By the time you get to the front to check out, that price may or may not have gone up.
Yeah.
Or gone down. But, you know, are they really going to go down? No. So when is the best time to buy stuff, whether it's in the store or delivery, to where you can get an average price? Because these stores are also doing things like when you buy like a bag of 2 pounds of chicken, you better weigh it, because a lot of these bags from different manufacturers of chicken or providers of whatever,
suppliers.
Suppliers of chickens or whatever. Mm-hmm. The numbers are way off.
Yeah.
Things are way light.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I watched a guy on the internets go to different stores, different grocery stores, different places, and get different items. And all of them were under. None of them were the weight that was stated on the bag.
Yeah.
And if you look at weights and measures and things like that, it's supposed to be like, hey, that's illegal. And then you're supposed to call them and tell them. Mm-hmm. But stores like Walmart do not care.
Yeah.
So they got sued for a class action lawsuit. It was like $40+ million. Into a company making like $100 billion in profit, they do not give a single crap about that kind of thing. And that's what I don't like, because it used to be like, oh man, we'll fix that for guys, and it's not happening, man. Getting taken advantage of. Like, you can't get good food hardly anymore, right? Without paying a premium. And then if you're trying to do things in a way that makes economical sense for you, what choice? You don't have any buying power anymore if they could just randomly change the price. So that means that you can grab it, go up to the counter like your Oreo garbage cookie, throw it up on there, and they beep, ring it up. It's like, oh, that's $6.29. You go, no, it was $3.49. And they used to honor their price. They'd be like, no, it ain't. Not today. It was while you were thinking about it. So how can you lock in your freaking price?
So I have seen the back and forth about some of this, like especially the surge pricing thing, and how Walmart had originally planned to install digital price displays to show the surge pricing.
Oh, they are. They're still doing it.
And their reasoning was it was to offer shoppers who shop at different times different opportunities, and it
Whatever.
didn't make any sense,
No,
right?
of course
it was
it
a
doesn't
big
make any-
line of PR nonsense. Well, it got countered with, no, because if you think about it, if you're trying to get people who have limited resources or limited money to maximize their money, you're actually causing them to buy constantly. You're trying to trigger a 24/7 consumer. Like, oh my God, I've got to buy the meat at 3 p.m.
Well, it's working.
But then I got to buy my toddler's shoes because it's Walmart. You can buy both those things at 6 p.m. But then, oh no, sometime in between those two, my shampoo goes down $1. So you're building this already in poverty peoples. You're building a reason for them to be persistent consumers, which again, you're eating into their resources, their money.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah. Whereas people who have slightly better means, they may not care as much about surge pricing. And well,
see, here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's going to get to the point where you're just not going to care because it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Now, I will, like, Amazon's a good example. Like, you put a pair of shoes in your cart on Monday night, and you're like, I like them, but whatever. And then Wednesday, they drop in price by $15, sometimes even $30.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, when I get home, I'm going to order them. Well, by Wednesday night, they've now shot up $20.
Yeah. There's no winning.
Yeah.
And dog food is one of the ones that I noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, so Jack gets food, comes in a tube.
Yeah.
It's like people food or whatever, but it's in a tube. I'm not going to say any brands that are out there. And I've watched the price fluctuate. Put it in my cart, it's $6.97. Come back, look later on, it's $11.97. And I'm like, hold on a second. He's eating better than I am. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of a thing. But I do say one thing. This episode has been brought to you, or will be brought to you, or is brought to you by Barley's Bites. Right?
Yep.
They make good stuff, and Barley's Bites is dedicated to providing top quality homemade dog treats for every doggo to enjoy. And their treats are made with fresh, healthy ingredients, no harmful chemicals, ensuring that your pet receives the best possible nutrition. If only food manufacturing people would do that for us, the humans, right?
Yeah.
And Jack loves them. The neighborhood dogs love them. They're made in New Mexico, and it's good stuff. So we buy them on the regular, and if you use code CreepGeeks at checkout, you get a little discount.
Oh.
And so Jack really seems to be digging on the beef and liver.
Yes.
He loves those treats. This is a little,
And the neighbor
I'm getting
puppy.
ready to go to bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
This dog will run us down. We have a golf cart because the mailbox is far away, and the older I get, the further it is. And he's tall, he's gangly, he's clumsy, but
He's huge.
He knows because we keep some in the glove box, right?
Yeah.
Give them a little treat, and also you can like throw them, and they'll turn around and run to the treats, and you can just jam it to the floor and hope that golf cart can make it up the hill, right?
Yeah.
We did the same thing in Russia. In places like that, we would have handfuls of candy because we were sailors, and you walk around and they know you got money or whatever, and they're all up there like mobbing you, right?
Yeah.
You take a handful of candy and you just throw it in the opposite direction, and they all run towards you, and then you run away.
It's awful.
Yeah, well, I mean, because they're up there digging their hands in your pockets and stuff, and you gotta,
Yeah.
it's a thing. And I will share a little story where we thought it was a great idea. This was in Egypt, in the Red Sea. And we were at a place where we kept getting hounded by like the neighborhood kids. And, we give them money and stuff because why not? Gum and things like that. But it got to the point where they just would not go.
Yeah.
And yelling and constantly the whole time and stuff like that. And other patrons of this restaurant were mad at the kids. And some of those people were like throwing heavy things at them to try to get them to run away, right? It was obvious. Mm-hmm. We were like the Beatles or something, right? And so we thought, if we would give one of the older children a little bit of money just to act as crowd control, that maybe it would be okay, because we're about to get kicked out of the, at the time was one of the best places to eat at, right? Hygienically and everything. And so we gave his kid a little bit of money and said, hey, just keep him back. And he didn't speak English. We didn't speak Egyptian, and so he was doing good at first. And then he just started swinging on these little kids and just like socking them in the eyes. And still, I mean, it's like he was beating them up. And we're like, no, man, because we didn't want the kids to get hurt. It was like he was just taking matters into his own hands. So, I will admit for the first 20 seconds, it was kind of funny, because we're trying to get over to him and get him, because he's like rolled up his sleeves. He's duking these kids and they're running off. But then we're like, oh man, hey man, just chill out, bro. Because these are his friends. You know what I mean? They weren't like just random strange kids. These were his friends. He just socking them in the eyes and pushing them. They were like, hey man, chill out.
So, are you saying you invented bum fights?
No, not at all. We thought it was a brilliant idea, a little crowd control, right?
Yeah.
And then we thought we'd perfected it, and we tried it again in Russia, and it worked out better because we picked a smarter kid, to sort of be like, hey guys, you got to, that kind of thing. So, yeah. Anyway, moving into the podcast, you should definitely go to Barley's Bites and go to barleysbites.com, and buy some stuff, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
We do it every time we run out. We buy more. Dog seems to like it. And actually, we got a listener message commenting on the last podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. And they started out with, we just bought some Barley's Bites for our White Shepherd.
Oh.
Thanks for the promo code. I'm like, oh, you're welcome. And then she said, because she lives in Central North Carolina, I don't know her name, but because we have a toll-free telephone number that you can call or leave a voicemail or a message or whatever. And that number is 575-208-4025, right? Mm-hmm. And so she left a message I thought was pretty funny because in the last podcast, we kind of talked about England and the heat wave that's coming, right? And Europe gets this heat wave, which is not hot to us, but it is to them. And so she said, you had me laughing on your description of the Brits. I'm a Southern belle married to a Brit. She says, well, a Scot. And that can start a fight over there. But having lived in the UK and here, you nailed it in terms of their food, washing machines in the kitchen, and I can easily list a whole bunch of other stuff that is so different because it's a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
The feelings that the Brits have is that they are better than everyone else. It's confirmation because I said that too. They do think they're better, and they're really not. But and she said that the feelings that the Brits are, the Brits have the feelings that are better than everyone else, and that's real until they marry an American and live here. And it's quite the humbling experience for them. We live in Central North Carolina, and the hub dies every summer with the heat and humidity. And then she says, back to food though. I'm also half Puerto Rican, and so they like add a little spice to food, right? Mm-hmm. And she said this was a major adjustment for the hubs. But now he's all about Southern comfort food and a little bit of Latino heat. And every once in a while, though, he goes and stocks up at the Scottish grocery store in Greensboro.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like,
I
can't do it.
My heed needs a break, darling.
He needs a break, darling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sound like a weird pirate, but I get it. So he goes to probably one of the blandest stores in Greensboro to get a little food.
So
little treats.
One of my coworker consultants actually has gone there a few times, and he said that he goes there to get tea, and they actually have really good biscuits for coffee and really good chocolate. So
it's just European chocolate.
Yeah. So
they don't have a lot of the milk emulsified milk crap that we have. They don't because we put dairy in everything. That's why we're so big and strong. Well, I'm waiting for it to come back because in my time of life, when they invented the food pyramid, it's completely changed. Eggs and butter were good, and then they went bad. Yeah. Milk was good, now it's bad. So it's all going to come back. Now they're saying butter is probably not as bad as we thought. Eggs are not as bad as we thought. And they're going to come back and say, you know what? It's okay to give your kids some milk. And not the low-fat stuff, too, because, kids need that. Yeah. Kids are energy, right? And it probably won't hurt old people to drink whole milk, too. Yeah. Get vitamin A and D, and maybe keep your bones from just shattering in your old, frail, calcium-depleted bodies. So, anyway, I appreciate the comment. I thought that was pretty cool. We do have some last episode follow-up type stuff. We did sort of briefly touch on the missing scientists.
Yeah.
And I came across something that I thought was pretty interesting. because of where the scientists went missing in the Jemez Mountains, right?
Yeah.
And they had found their car with a boulder through the window. My first thought was when we were there and we were getting softball-sized rocks hurled at us over a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
My thought was Bigfoot acting up, right? But
yeah,
not so much. And it's, for those of you who don't know, up around Highway 4 and all that, out that way, you can go through Jemez and beautiful country and all that jazz. But eventually, if you go up and hang like a left, you can just keep going and run right into Los Alamos.
Yep.
So Los Alamos National Laboratory's up there. And that place is crazy because if you go in there and you go through the gate, or at least last time we went, because you can drive through, it's a big neighborhood community, your cell phone service, it just pretty much either disappears or it's very minimal. And I think that's smart because that's a national laboratory. There's lots of secrets and secret stuff going on there.
Yeah.
But this article came from the Daily Mail, which is probably, this is the U.S. edition, so maybe I don't know if it's any good or not compared to like.
I mean, it does have a list of a lot of the people that went missing. So Air Force General William Neal.
Yes,
McCaslin.
But let's talk about this chick first before we list off the people who've gone missing. Ingrid Coleman Lane, 37. And this is in 2023, so this is a minute ago, right?
Yeah.
So they went missing after leaving a meditation retreat in the remote mountains of New Mexico. And then later on, investigators discovered a smashed Subaru abandoned near a volcanic hiking trail with no trace. And so inside a vehicle, they found 3 laptops, an unactivated burner phone, and Lane's keys were still hanging in the ignition, and a massive boulder had mysteriously shattered her rear hatch window.
Yeah.
They don't really show a picture of the boulder, so I'm not exactly sure what you consider to be a massive boulder. And they don't exactly say where the car was found because you're in a place where there are canyons and things like that, and rocks and stuff do fall off. It does happen, so I don't know. But, search dogs didn't find anything. They couldn't locate a scent trail or anything like that. And this case has gotten renewed attention because of the other missing scientists.
Yeah.
And it does talk about, like you were talking about with McCaslin and Steve Garcia, Melissa Casillas.
And Anthony Chavez.
Yeah.
While Lane's disappearance has also drawn comparisons to the missing NASA-linked scientist Monica Jacinto Reza, who vanished while hiking in California in 2025. They're trying to say that the circumstances for both are very similar. At the time of her disappearance, friends had posted that she was working on projects at Los Alamos National Laboratory, where several of the other missing scientists had been employed. Now, it goes into the history of Los Alamos, and it also mentions the rugged wilderness, the Jemez Mountains. What I like is right here is, for years, Lane's disappearance was publicly framed largely as a tragic mental health story involving a, quote, bipolar Buddhist musician who vanished after leaving a silent retreat.
Yeah.
And having said that, I what direction she was heading because it's Jemez. We know the area. There's 3 very popular retreats, but only 1 or 2 of them offer silent retreats.
Yeah, we passed it.
Yeah, so she's in that backwoods part closer to...
Yeah, and who knows what hiking trail, because there's tons of hiking trails.
Yeah,
but they say volcanic hiking trail, which makes me think I know where it is.
They also mentioned that they had scent dogs out, and if it's where I think it was, her scent is going to disappear as soon as it hits the Jemez River. Because that river, even though it's not like the rivers here in the Blue Ridge Mountains, it's swift.
Yes.
And you're not going to, unfortunately, find people if they follow the river.
Yeah, and according to reports, she unexpectedly left the retreat the following morning and told the retreat director that she'd planned to travel to both Albuquerque and Los Alamos before later returning. That's easy to do. So it's, it's a little bit of everything's spread out in New Mexico, but her final confirmed sighting occurred later that afternoon when 2 hunters reportedly encountered her along a remote dirt road near State Route 144 in the San Antonio mountain area.
She was next to the Hot Springs hiking trail.
Yeah, so it's not like, anyway. And her final confirmed sighting occurred later that afternoon when 2 hunters had seen her, right? But they said that they had helped Lane after her vehicle sustained damage and offered her a ride back towards the main road, but she refused, reportedly telling them that she was determined to get to the top of the mountain. And it's like, okay. And they show her car and all that stuff, and it has a missing persons report. And everything we talk about in the podcast is available in the show notes on our website. If you go to CreepGeeks.com, and you can follow along too. And then it starts to list all the missing scientists, and a lot of them are from Los Alamos.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I don't know, coincidence, whatever. I don't necessarily think so. But if you go down into the comments, it's where it gets a little interesting. So the first comment says, America and Israel have killed about 15 Iranian nuclear scientists, and an Iranian terror cell is currently in America. When they have killed about 15 American scientists, they will return home.
Okay.
I talked about that last podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's a possibility, right? We don't really know why these people are missing or what exactly, you know. So, I mean, is it a possibility? Sure. And then the next comment, alien abduction. They want to stay secret and hidden, but they have been here since ages. All right. Of course, that's, you know, always a weird thing. And then another one, aliens are quietly kidnapping our brightest and our most useful and our hardest working individuals. That's a fact. Fortunately for the Daily Mail staff, they can rest easy knowing their safety is guaranteed, and thus we can enjoy. So, just let me throw a little shade at the Daily Mail, right? But I mean, who knows? So how far back can you go in a conspiracy, and how forward can you go in a conspiracy to tie everything together? But it does seem, you know, they have a lot of connections or common connection with Los Alamos nuclear programs, alternative propulsion programs, and stuff like that. So it does seem like these group of scientists are being targeted specifically. So how far back do you go to say this has been happening systematically since before 2023?
Yeah.
2020? I mean, how long has this been going on, right? Because, I mean, it almost makes you wonder. It's like, okay, so, you know, are these things occurring in the background, which is what's, you know, maybe that's one of the reasons why we're having our current conflicts with other countries, because we know it's been going on. And maybe that's why let's bring these data centers, these quote-unquote AI data centers to the U.S., and why they're being put up at breakneck speed all over the country. What's going on? Are we so infiltrated with spies and, you know, espionage type stuff? We got to rebuild our own infrastructure when it comes to like information technology and stuff like that. I mean, because it's even get to the point where like, I think in the next 2 years, you can't have a foreign made router or like internet appliance. It has to be made in the U.S. And they're talking, and they've started with drones, like DJI. Like you can't have a DJI drone because of spyware and everything else and some other things. It's kind of, that's been an issue. It's been going on for a long time. So there's a bunch of different reasons why they don't want it.
Yeah.
So is all this sort of culminating to a thing, and this is why we're doing what we're doing? Because it just seems like with the data centers, and they're calling them AI data centers. I'm sure that's just not all that they are, but I mean, even like when we were talking, and then you were talking about the city council, that place in Georgia, where they're all like, we don't want it, and they did it anyway.
And they all got voted out.
Which is good. Screw them. Yeah. They should be voted out. But it seems like there's no rules for these things.
There aren't.
You know, we need all your power. We need all your water. We're going to steal 30 million gallons of water at this data center. Like, oops, sorry, that's a mistake. And no, there seems to be no rules.
And we're going to cause a rate increase of 8%.
Yeah.
Over the next year and a half, and then an additional 7% rate hike.
And it's like the data center are giving the
state
or county money, and then why all of a sudden does the taxpayers have to pay for it?
Exactly. It sounds like that, and you keep getting told, no, it's not a rate increase on you guys to pay for the data center. But then it's like, no, we're paying for the data center to run. I don't care. That's what it sounds like. And that's what...
It's like me going, hey, I got a good deal for you.
Yeah.
I am going to come and build a pizza place. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be great. Mm-hmm. I'm going to provide pizzas. But I want you to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute. What happened to cost of doing business?
Yeah.
You know?
And everybody in Burke County, North Carolina, actually stood up and did a really great, like, county commissioner type meeting where they clearly spoke against it. People from Buncombe County, McDowell County, Rutherford County all came and said, because Rutherford, this was about 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It was funny because Rutherford County already has 2 data centers. So these people are speaking from experience. Like, you know, a giant storm happened, but we had to make sure the data centers were running. Or, yeah, that really happened.
I mean, if they really wanted to do data centers, just put them all in Waffle Houses, man.
Yeah, or
spread them out.
You know, the whole passing the buck or kicking the can down the line on the costs. But this whole missing scientist thing, I think, is going to ramp up. That first comment you liked, or you said, I don't want to believe that, but that sounds very...
If you are an espionage guy or a spy guy, it makes sense that because let's take Iran, for example. This has been a 70-year thing. Mm-hmm. And they know they're small enough to where but my favorite. They've been terrorists attacking the U.S. in many different ways, but you never hear about everything. Not everything is classified as terrorist, and not everything is going to be out there for public consumption. Mm-hmm. So what if this has been going on for a very long time, and things have started ramping up, and that's why we're starting to doing what we're doing?
Well, my favorite comment in this whole thing, with its theories and suggestions and feedback, just stop hiking, dummies.
Well, I can get on board with some of that.
Because at least 3 of these people were either hiking or jogging.
Well, when we first got to New Mexico, they said that they were excited on the news that the average number of hiker deaths went from 9 to 7. That's in one place.
Yeah.
That was the Sandias.
Yeah.
That where everybody goes and walks. That was just the Sandias.
And that year we had...
In our other podcast, in the previous years of the podcast, we talk about a couple that turned off the road, off a main road, and went and got stuck in the mud and died. Yeah. And they were like 150 feet away from the road. Yep. And nobody found them for months. Mm-hmm. You know, things like that occur. White Sands family. Yeah. They were French. Husband felt sick.
Yeah.
Or no, the wife felt sick, and she's going to walk back to the car. And they had brought a couple water bottles and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, the dad felt sick and gave his remaining water to the son and said, stay. And he died. Yeah. And then they just, a guy walking by just happened to see the kid. Yeah. And they were not that White Sands. They weren't that far away. No. And that's why when we took our little trips and at the time, the Great White Buffalo, our camper van, I carried 40 gallons of water. We had MREs. We could basically live in that one spot for up to 2 weeks. Yeah. Because I was so freaked out about it. And we would go places where it's like, hey, when's the last time you seen a car? And it's like, we've been here all day long, 6 hours in, haven't seen a car. Yeah. You know? And so I can easily see how that could happen. Yeah. It's just kind of... It's kind of nutty, man.
It is a funny comment because it's from the UK and I don't know. Yeah. They're not familiar with New Mexico. So
no, well, they're not familiar with how large the U.S. is.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't get like, what are your roads? How do you have, it's like, because the U.S. was built on an interstate highway system. We were built for cars. Mm-hmm. So, and that even when you look at some of the cars that they have to do maintenance on them, like a lot of European cars, like Mercedes and BMW, stuff like that, they expect you to have maintenance and do maintenance. U.S., we expect our cars to get on the highway and go 100 miles an hour for 100,000 plus miles. Yeah. Because you can do it. Because we have this, anyway, kind of is what it is, but I don't know, man, it's kind of crazy. Huh. Yeah. So check your meat prices and the weight and see if they correspond when you go. And this is okay. And so I shouldn't just say it's Walmart. It's all the grocery stores, Kroger, Ingalls, all of them and they'll say, well, we get the meat already priced and labeled or whatever from meat factories. And that's not always the case, because I watched a guy do a video where he went to several different Kroger. Kroger is the largest grocery store. They own a lot of, anyway, in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And they have like prepackaged things where they sell like a pound of cheese, for $4, and you just grab it out of the cooler box. Yeah. And this guy went to multiple Kroger's and he picked them up, and they were all 12 ounces amongst different stores. So he put them on a scale. They weigh 12 ounces. They're all labeled as being 1 pound. This is multiple stores. And the same guy went to other places and got the same brand of chicken in different stores. And it's all, I think this is deliberate.
Yeah.
And I think that they can, just in general, whether it's whatever, Walmart, whoever, that they can just do this and they'll pay the fine. Walmart had the class action lawsuit. They paid $45 million. Like, oh, all right. They don't care. If you're making billions in profits, $45 million is nothing.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, that's a Big Mac. That's a Big Mac meal to these guys, which is still supposed to be the number one fast food meal in the country. It's like Big Macs, a Big Mac combo meal.
Walmart's profits for 2025 were $169.232 billion. They made $640 billion, but their actual profit was $169 billion.
So what is $45 million to them? It's nothing.
It's nothing.
It's nothing. And I think that they're doing it on purpose. I think a lot of these companies, and I think the fleecing of the consumer is just becoming a common. It's just a business practice. Mm-hmm. And that's wrong, man. Now, here's something that kind of more related to the weird news of the show. All the other stuff's kind of weird. And I just thought this was common knowledge. Maybe it's from watching these stupid shows on television, right? The true purpose of Egyptian's Great Pyramid is challenged by a new theory, right? Mm-hmm. That the ancient wonder is a planetary beacon, a planetary communication system.
Okay.
I've heard about this for 20 years. I don't understand why they're thinking that this is like a new thing.
It's not.
Like, right? So I click on it, and it, of course, goes back to the Daily Mail. Mm-hmm. It says, true purpose of Egypt's Great Pyramid challenged by new theory, ancient wonder is a planetary beacon. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
It says the debate of the true purpose of Egypt's Great Pyramid has been reignited. For decades, alternative theories suggested the ancient structure may be served, as a royal tomb, which that's not, nobody cares about that. That's not true. We all know that. Now, a recent study proposed that the Great Pyramid of Khufu was constructed as a sophisticated system of cosmic scale communication. This is an old theory.
Maybe it's new to them because
I don't
a majority of the planet didn't watch Ancient Aliens or read,
Well, I'm going
Eric Von
based off
Daniken
people who
or-
listen to a paranormal and weird news podcast,
Yeah.
have a tendency to pay attention to stuff. And plus, you can watch Ancient Aliens polish off a bag of Doritos and a Pepsi and think you've learned something. It's a popular show. It's been around for 20 seasons or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah. So the paper that's been written about this, right, which has not been peer reviewed, argues that the pyramid's precise geographic position, architectural proportions, and the alignment of the Earth's rotation could have allowed it to function as kind of a gravitational transmitter. And this is on an interstellar scale. And the theory is based on the idea that the Great Pyramid of Giza was built at a very specific location on Earth that may contain a hidden mathematical message. And I'm like, okay, well, that's been known for a long time. And if you make the numbers work, you can make the numbers work and say anything, really.
Yeah.
How they all line up and point towards Orion's belt and, all this other stuff, right? And it's like the pyramid sits at 29.979234 degrees with a north latitude, and that number resembles the speed of light at 299 whatever it is. I mean, this is all meters per second, 299,000 or million, 792, whatever. The number's the same.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I just don't have it in me to find my glasses to to read it, right? And that's, of course, when you shift the decimal point, right?
Okay.
And so critics are basically saying, well, that's cool and all, but those numbers wouldn't be the same back when the pyramids were created. Because you have things like shift, right? And everything shifts because we're all falling through space.
Yeah.
So if you add the gravitational shift and things like rotational variances over time and all that, those numbers don't make sense because they aren't what they would have been back then compared to the numbers you're using now to prove your point. So, but yeah, I don't understand why this is news. And it says, if true, the pyramids may have functioned not only as tombs or monuments, but as part of a giant planetary beacon or communication system. Let's add the or power source. All of that stuff. And then with the hidden chambers that are underneath the pyramids now and, all of that. And for the most part, the idea that these have been like, what do you call it? Funerary monuments.
Yeah.
It has never really made sense. Like, well, I'm pretty sure it's Khufu inside it. They found the name Khufu one time and said, see that? This graffiti right here means that this belongs to this guy. It's like, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So the major focus of the paper is that the numerical relationship between the Great Pyramid's latitude and the speed of light, and that match with those two values being accurate up to the first 7 digits, is statistically extraordinary. So, under the theory, an advanced civilization familiar with physics and astronomy could have potentially interpreted the coordinates as a marker tied to the Earth's position in space. All right, well, that's cool and all, but you kind of got to know the Earth's there, and then you got to know where to look on the Earth. You try to figure it out. So how is this, whatever. So I just thought it was kind of odd. Like, I thought this was a thing. I thought there would maybe be some like new information and whatever, but it just seems like, I guess if you're looking at theories, that's one that's in there that I thought everybody knew or paid attention. So that's the question. Have you heard of anything like that? If you're listening to the podcast, does that make sense to you? You're like, yeah. Or is it like, what? My mind is flabbergasted. So I don't know. Maybe the assumption is that since we do this podcast and we like all of this kind of stuff and we watch it and pay attention to it, that this should be common knowledge. But if you ask me who the number one song in the U.S. popular music right now or in the world is, I'd have no idea.
No clue.
Not a bit. So that's kind of the two ways with that. But, so when you talk about robot wolves, right, you think of Japan.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I didn't know that robot wolves actually existed until I seen this news article. And there's an actual picture. So if you go to the website, our website, and you click on the link, you're going to come to Yahoo News where it says, Japan robot wolves are in high demand to scare off bears. And this picture looks like some weird dog with a scary bear face and orange eyes. And if I seen this at night walking around, I would have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
I'd be like, this is some kind of cryptid. And so this wolf-like robot that they call the super monster wolf, which is perfect anime, right? Mm-hmm. Stands beside a rice field to drive away wild animals that cause damage to the crops. Mm-hmm. And this is in the Chibu prefecture, right?
Yeah.
But this picture was taken from August 2017. So Japan has had robot wolves since 2017.
Oh, wow.
So if you look at the technological advancements that have occurred from 2017 to now, these things are probably like way better.
And here's the other thing. This says bears killed 13 people across Japan in 2025, 2026.
That seems like a lot.
That does.
What kind of bears do they have in Japan? Are you looking up bears in Japan?
No, I'm looking up how many people died of bear attacks in America. Oh, never mind.
Well, what's the number? You can't go through all that and not say the number.
In 2025, 50 of the 72 listed deaths were human-caused for grizzlies.
Dang.
Grizzly deaths.
All right, so Japan is not nearly as big as...
True, yeah.
So maybe if you kind of like take the size, right, because it's always a problem with scale. Put the scale, maybe it's about equal. So like maybe if Japan was the size of the U.S., you would take those deaths, multiply by or figure out some kind of extrapolation with the size and be like, all right, that's about right.
Yeah. Huh. Wow, that's just 72 grizzly deaths.
Yeah.
Ooh, never mind.
So the company that makes these Ota Seikai, which is a Hokkaido-based firm that makes these scary robot wolves, has already received about 50 orders this year, which is way more than usually the entire volume of what they've made so far, right? And it says we make them by hand, we can't make them fast enough, so we're asking our customers to wait 2 or 3 months. And awareness of bear safety and measures against wildlife damage on farm products is basically has improved since using these robot wolves. And so they're saying that that there's a recognition there that their product is effective at dealing with bears until bears finally jump on one and whoop it.
Oh wow!
You know what I mean? Because then the bear will know that it can take a robot wolf. So then they'll have to build super fighting robot wolves.
Well, this is. In my opinion, this is reasonable. For prices starting at $4,000 or higher for upgrades, the system comes with a battery, solar panels, sensors, speakers, and other apparatus. Or apparati, they need to correct that. It broadcasts more than 50 kinds of recorded sounds, including human voices and electronic noises, audible up to a kilometer away.
Hey, bear!
Yeah.
Hey, bear!
The device can turn its head, flash red LED eyes, while its tail is equipped with blue LEDs. Huh.
Okay, so where's the laser?
That's pretty reasonable compared to
I don't know, man. $4,000, I could do that. I have successfully scared a squirrel out of the bird feeder just by yelling at it through the camera. Does this thing move? It just sits in one spot.
I don't know.
I want one that runs around.
See, so Boston Dynamics Spot, their dog robot, starts at $74,000.
But it does stuff. It does flips and it runs and all sorts of stuff.
It doesn't fetch sticks or wag its tail?
Who, the robot wolf?
A Spot doesn't.
Well, no, because they don't have a mouth or anything. But you can strap a laser to its freaking head. I know Temu has a version of one of those things. You can probably get about $4,000. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to scrape up some money, and we're going to get one of these Temu robot dogs, and we'll get a rubber mask, latex. So, because the robot dog thing won't be allergic to latex like I am. Mm-hmm. And it can run around and do that. And we can record messages and make it just randomly yell stuff at people.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to point out, about a month ago in Poland, somebody got footage of a fully backpacked robot literally chasing boars out of downtown Warsaw.
That's pretty cool. How do you get that job?
It was the creepiest thing ever. It looks like it's a Boston Dynamics style robot. And some dude was out walking his dog, and he's like, "Oh my God, there's boars!" So now he's worried about himself and his dog, and out comes this robot that's already been in pursuit of these boars, and it just runs right past him, and it's got a full gear military issue backpack on.
It's probably a battery or a gas tank.
I think it's a battery and a locator.
Yeah.
Like GPS. And it just shows this robot just...
See, that makes me... I should have put the article in there about these random Waymo cars just wandering around the neighborhood. They're all kind of congregating. And my thought was, they're communicating. They're breeding.
I'll put the link to the...
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're getting smarter. Maybe all these AI data centers are there to take out the AIs that they can't control. So when the AI shows up in one data center, they can shut it down real quick and kick it over to another one because the AI is trying to kill us. Little Skynet's happening. Maybe Skynet is happening. We just don't know it. But yeah, they've had over 50,000 bear sightings nationwide in Japan. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
And so the number of bears captured and then culled nearly tripled from a year earlier.
That number amazed me.
14,601 bears in Japan. Lot. I don't understand. That seems like a lot for a small place.
Yeah.
They need to get something that can eat the bears. So instead of having, super robot wolf dog thing, super robot wolf, they should make them look like Godzilla. And go around and just eat the bears. So, monster wolf.
So Japan, the entirety of Japan, is just a little bit bigger than the entire state of California.
In the grand scheme of things, that's not very big. I mean, compared
But that would mean 14,000 bears in California got slaughtered.
Yeah.
That's...
And, how many bears are there? There's got to be a lot. So, yes, these super robot wolves were introduced in 2016. And it does other stuff too. It scares away deer, bears. Initially, it was thought to be a gimmick, but it seems like it's working. I'll tell you what, you put one of these super robot wolves out here in the country, and it would be shot. Because if I was out in the woods at night and I seen this thing come cruising up with these crazy eyes and making noises, I would shoot it. But the thing is that it's just going to sit there sleeping until it detects something. You know what I mean? Because it's got to conserve power, right? It's got a solar panel and junk like that. So it's just sitting there, and then you walk up on it, and the motion sensor or whatever it's using, sort of wakes it up and it starts making noise. It's going to get blasted for sure.
North America has one black bear per 26 square kilometers, whereas Japan has one per every 7 kilometers.
It seems pretty bear heavy.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
So let's talk about butterfly people. This is sort of a quick thing that I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't really know anything about, right? Mm-hmm. But it has a really gross thing in it.
Okay.
Which is why I stuck it in here. So there was a tornado in 2011, the Joplin tornado, which was one of the deadliest tornadoes in American history. And there's a rumor about it. And this is off of allthinginteresting.com where I've seen it, right? Mm-hmm. It says May 22nd, 2011, an EF5 tornado, carved a 22-mile path through Joplin, Missouri, killing, and we watched the documentary on this. It was pretty crazy. And so it remains one of the deadliest tornadoes in the United States since modern record-keeping times, which started around 1950. And there was like a $3 billion loss. And, a lot of people got killed, right?
Yeah.
So in the weeks and months that followed, as the city began to process what happened, something unexpected started circulating, and that children, dozens of them from different parts of Joplin who had really no connection with each other, began telling their families the same story. During the storm, they said they saw winged, glowing figures that hovered above them, shielding them from debris. Right? So you first thought it's like angels, right?
Yeah.
And so, some people did call them angels, and others just call them the butterfly people. Right?
Uh-huh.
And so this is kind of went viral on TikTok. And it says, the person that was claiming that the butterfly people were actually victims whose skin had been ripped off their backs by the wind, creating wing-like flaps. That's terrible, right?
And that documentary did talk about
creator corrected themselves by saying that's actually not what happened.
And in that documentary, they did talk about one guy who, I guess he had been in a convertible vehicle and he was in the back. So when the tornado hit, he got all messed up, but his skin was flayed off of him.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, yeah, it can definitely happen. I mean, during hurricanes, they found, were pine needles embedded in telephone poles.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So it's more complicated. So the account started filtering through the Joplin Child Trauma Treatment Center, and it was basically set up specifically to help children deal with what they had experienced. And therapists heard firsthand stories from children and young adults who described seeing white lights as well as visions of butterflies or butterfly-like beings that helped to keep them safe during a storm. Mm-hmm. And this came from like school children of all ages.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if they were rich or poor, regardless of religious beliefs. And so 2 accounts became widely shared. In each account, the basic premise was that the tornado got closer to a parent, and child, right? Mm-hmm. And the parent tried to protect them, but afterward, the child told the parent that a butterfly person had been really the one that was protecting them. In both of those cases, the parent and child were unharmed. And an 11-year-old boy told his Sunday school class that he had seen the butterfly people the night of the storm. And a badly injured 14-year-old girl said real butterflies had been visiting her throughout the summer as she healed.
Wow.
So
these figures were described at, no matter how many children the counselor spoke to, traumatized, not so traumatized, the descriptions matched. The figures were winged, luminous, and protective. Some children describe the butterfly people as shielding them from debris. Others say they saw the figures carrying people up to the sky.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, as I read this before, I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. My first thought was Mothman.
Yeah.
Now, if you see the statue in West Virginia, it doesn't look like a moth necessarily. It looks kind of like a big butterfly guy. Mm-hmm. Right? And the descriptions don't really match moth at all. They match more of an owl man type thing, which has been seen in England.
Yeah.
So could these kids who probably never heard of Mothman or seen Mothman or anything like Mothman mistaken Mothman for butterfly people?
Maybe.
Because this story I'd never really heard about so much. But if you said Mothman, it'd be everywhere.
Huh.
Just think about it. Butterflies, moth look pretty similar.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting. What? Nobody can hear him licking his foot, so I don't know why.
I can hear it.
Well, nobody can. Don't worry about it. Now he's over there thinking you're going to give him something to eat. Jack is in the podcast manager chair, doing his grooming, licking his feet. He's like, I'm so hungry right now.
Stop it.
Okay, I'm going to lick my own foot. Tastes like Fritos.
Staring right at me.
I like Fritos. He's like, are you talking about me? I'm so hungry right now.
Stop it.
So months after the tornado, Joplin moved forward with plans for a community mural. Mm-hmm. And there's an artist named Dave Lowenstein, and he had been planning the project before the tornado struck, and he returned to the city and held a town meeting. More than 200 volunteers showed up, most of them were children, and Lowenstein asked them to submit pictures for what would inspire the design. He never mentioned butterfly people, and that's what the children drew.
Oh.
Why hasn't there been a movie about this? I would watch this.
Yeah, I would.
Especially if it was done by somebody who could, is it maybe M. Night Shyamalan? Because it'd be either hit or miss. Because he's got it good, and then he's got not so good. He got it good, and I don't know. And so the finished mural is called The Butterfly Effect. Dreams Take Flight.
Okay.
So, yeah. And it's painted on the side of Dixie Printing and became one of the city's most recognized symbol of recovery. And Lowenstein said that the butterfly imagery represented the rebirth of the city. And when we watched that documentary, they showed the butterfly mural.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't figure out why were they using the butterfly as a symbol? Because they didn't talk about butterfly people. So
maybe that got cut.
Or maybe they sat down and said, I don't know if we want to say this or not. Who knows, right? So now there is a documentary called The Butterfly People, which is directed by a local filmmaker named Gregory Fish, which is, they later investigated the phenomenon through first-person survivor accounts. And according to the Lawrence County Record, the film won Best Feature at the First City Film Festival. And a book called Butterflies at the Window, a story of butterfly people and miracles in the storm by Sandy J. McReynolds, collected the interview and accounts in full.
Okay.
So, yeah, there we go. And then it comes down to were there really butterfly people? There's no way to get a definitive answer. Well, of course not. So, I thought it was pretty interesting. When you have a bunch of kids that aren't associated with each other in any way and all telling the same story, kids are, they can be prompted, of course, and they can lie, but a lot of them don't. What do they have gain? What do they gain by lying?
No.
So, especially like that, because parents are weird, right? You're like, there's a monster in my room. No, there's not. Go to bed. That kind of thing. And then, you know what? One monster shows up. Change your tune as a parent, I guess. So, I don't know. All right, so let's talk about this, and I think this is maybe not racist. I'm trying to think of the word for it, but
what do you mean?
Why is everyone almost right-handed?
Scientists finally solve the mystery and say the answer may lie in how we learn to walk. Okay, so I was always told the reason more people are right-handed is because the people who had the left-handed trait were more likely to die in combat because their shield or whatever they used to defend themselves didn't properly cover the majority of the cavity that held your heart, which is over on the left-hand side.
Well, that's gross.
Yeah.
But it's a biological thing.
And that's what I got told. So if you
I
kill
know
off...
a lot of people... Well, they say that the number is like 10% of people that are actually left-handed. When I was growing up in school,
Yeah.
a lot of times the teacher would take the pencil or pen or crayon out of the left hand and put it in the right hand.
Well, yeah, it's still...
And so you eventually get taught,
Yeah.
And me, I'm left-handed.
I'm left-handed.
Yeah. And
But...
we didn't do that. So I think that number is artificially small because of interventional means.
Agreed. Now, genetically, though, I'm saying that the propensity to be left-handed has already been weaned down through what I was taught in school. The whole combat thing.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also 3 things that you can be. Mm-hmm. You can be predominantly left-handed, predominantly right-handed, and then you can be sort of ambidextrous. And then there's varying degrees in between.
Yeah.
So I think that you could be probably any one of those things. But then if you look at your other environmental factors, like how you're growing up or whatever job you did or, whatever you're doing, you might favor your predominantly stronger hand for things than the weaker and vice versa.
Yeah.
And then you have groups of people that will be stronger with the right hand, but right with the left hand, be stronger with the left hand, but right with the right hand. So there's really no real, I understand this is an Oxford study, and they try to say that based off of how you learn to walk and use tools is what determined if you're predominantly left or right-handed. And then they show this with monkeys.
Yeah.
And saying that if you look at early monkeys, they would be predominantly right or left-handed. Mm-hmm. But the more modern monkey uses left and right-handed together.
Yeah.
Like almost equally. So I just think they're just trying to keep
Keep left-handed people down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the possible drivers of handedness are tool use, diet, locomotion, brain size, and habitat preference. Now, the brain size, they're not saying that, one side's dumber than the other. They're saying that the corpus callosum, or however you say that, in the middle that connects the left and right hemispheres of your brain can be thicker or more like larger for people that are right-handed versus left-handed. So, yeah, but it shows like humans and apes, and it says humans, apes, old world monkeys, and new world monkeys, and it has a little thing there that says apes predominantly will do 50-50.
Yeah.
Old world monkeys will do 50-50, and even new world monkeys will do 50-50. Whereas humans, it's more scale towards right hand versus left hand.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, most of my family are ambidextrous. I'm the only predominantly left hand, but it's only been recently where I'm doing arts and crafts that I favor my right hand.
Well, then you would fit right in with the study with the environmental factors.
Yeah.
Like using tools and things like that.
Yeah. I still use a drill with my left hand, but...
Well, that's your strong hand. That's your pimp hand, right? Smacking hand, whatever.
But I cannot write my signature with my right hand at all.
Yeah.
But I do all my beading with my right hand.
I don't know.
Like all my jewelry, yeah.
So they're saying, in other words, with the whole study, once you account for upright walking and a large brain, humans stop looking like an evolutionary anomaly. So, I don't know. What was that? And that was very loud.
I don't...
Sound like an electric car backing up. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So I just thought that was kind of like, I don't know if I believe that necessarily, but sure, it makes sense, I guess, but I do think that number 10% is ridiculously low.
Yeah.
Because in some places growing up, if you were using your left hand, you'd get beat until you started using your right hand.
Yeah.
So if you look at that and then, hey, are you left-handed or right-handed, you're going to lie because you don't want to get beat with the cane.
Yeah.
So I think that number is probably about 25%. And then that's not to say that you have parents. Parents would do that too. See their kids favoring the left hand and be like, oh, no, you got to use your right hand.
Like I tried to take
And then they try to church it up and say, well, left-handed people are more artsy.
Yeah.
And less violent or whatever.
Which is funny because they can't be more artsy. Or, well, it depends. I loved orchestra, and I liked classical music when I was a little kid. I wanted to take violin, and they do not make, well, they, at the time I was told, there's no such thing as a left-handed violin. There's one custom-made one, but that's because the person who plays it is missing a bone in their, like, left hand or something. And I was just like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, can't you just string it differently?
It has a chest and chin piece that you have to have right here.
Yeah.
And the direction that it is between your chest and your chin also is the direction of the way that the neck is skewed, as well as how it's strung. So you'd have to re-skew the neck, restring it, and change the position of that little neck thing. So, which doesn't seem like a lot to me, especially when I was a little kid.
No.
Yeah, but no, I was forced to learn violin.
Well, economically.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's like when you look at schools and you had like the left-handed, right-handed scissors.
Yeah.
There'd always be like one pair just
That didn't work.
left-handed. Didn't,
Yeah.
And then and camera factories and companies used to get occasional calls. You know, how come you don't make,
Yeah.
a left-handed shutter and all that stuff? You know, my husband has to hold the camera upside down and take a picture because the button's on the wrong side. And I'm sitting there thinking, your husband's a moron. Yeah, I mean, come on. It's pressing a button. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
I'm lefty. I can deal with it, right?
Yeah.
But then you got left-handed people that use the, spin cast or fishing reels. They flip it upside down and reel it backwards because
Somebody tried to teach me that, and it was so...
it's awkward and off-putting.
And it also...
Because they're left-handed. It's like, all right, look.
Would make my
I took a
mind
call
get
one time
tangled.
from somebody who wanted a left-handed shutter camera. Mm-hmm. I said, you just got to deal with it or.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that, one person said that they used it upside down and they were like, he's only got one arm. I felt kind of bad about it. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, well. And so I started to ask, well, which arm? You know what I mean? Because it's not a problem if you got your right arm. But so I don't know. I get it. Mm-hmm. But it should be easy to remap a camera these days with technology to where the button you press, but it's like, what if your turn signal's on the wrong side? What's up with that, like in your car? So, I don't know. But they do say concurrently increases in brain size and associated cortical reorganization have promoted greater hemispheric specialization, thereby enhancing the natural efficiency of such lateralized behaviors. A nice way of saying, it's not so much of a big deal. Because they compared to brain size, of which you're more likely to be, left-handed, right-handed predominantly. So it's like, okie dokie. So we talked about data centers a little bit, and I seen this just last week, and it's making me angry. Nearly 60,000 Lake Tahoe residents have 1 year to find new power, as in utility, as their utility is going to be pivoting towards data centers. So you got an electric company that's basically saying, hey, screw the people, man. We're here for the data center.
Yeah.
We're going to provide all our power to those guys. And they just straight up said, you got a year to find new power. How can that be allowed?
I don't understand how this is legal.
I mean, it's public utility.
Yeah.
That's what they say, right? Anybody can get electricity if you pay for it, but they're just basically saying, screw the people, and this is Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
This is not like some random place in Georgia that's mad that this data center has
Like a
stolen
tiny
30
little town.
million
Yeah.
gallons of water.
This is...
They are straight up, hey, no.
Yeah.
Find your own horsepower, find your own juice because we're giving it to the data center. That's why I don't understand what sort of breakneck push there is behind having all these data centers where city council people are going against their own people and saying, we're going to have the data center. And people said no, and they voted them out. It's like this just going, nobody seems to, it doesn't, where is people, you think politicians would jump in on this and be like, the people have spoken, for a platform. They're not doing it either. I don't get why I don't understand what the real reason behind the push to have all these data centers and why it's happening now. It's at breakneck speed.
Yeah.
What is the real reason behind it? It's not for AI.
And it's not to protect our data.
Yeah, our data is breached. your social security number is readily available anywhere.
Yeah. So it's not to store our data here in the United States.
To keep it safe.
I keep hearing that, and it's not that. These are third-party data centers run by private entities that are using up to 22% of an entire state, Nevada's, energy in 2024.
And there's supposed to be another one supposed to be huge, like in Utah. It's like it's like 12 miles square for one data center.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean,
and that's
granted,
the thing.
okay, so I do believe a lot of it is probably to protect our own data and our own AI or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Is it because there's other AIs out there that are so dangerous that we have to keep all of our stuff in house? Like maybe China's got an AI. Maybe there's no rules, it seems, for these AIs anymore.
Yeah.
And there's no rules for robots. So is this to protect us from that? Are we going to have the great AI wars coming up? What? I don't get it, man.
I don't know, but I do. The related stories to this one are 70% of Americans don't want AI data centers near their home, and that's more opposition than nuclear power plants used to get. Because remember, back in the 80s and 90s, we were all like, no.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing about nuclear power. It's actually, in a lot of ways, safer.
Yeah.
So maybe this is just a secret push by the nuclear power industry, right? As sort of a sideways a lateral move to get more nuclear plants put in place and approved.
Yeah.
Because you know what would power an AI center? Probably pretty nicely. A freaking nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to, but you still got to worry about the water side of things. But then maybe people can still have their power. Because imagine if a data center moved in and then year 2, they're like, we need more power. And your power company says, hey, guys, I know you're rural and there's only 2 power companies that provide power service. Find your own.
Oh, that data center meeting that I talked about that happened in Burke County, it was already mentioned. And we're going to go ahead and address it now. There will be rolling brownouts. And then they had to explain, because some people in this area
no idea what the hell
have never lived on the West Coast. And when you explained it to them, they were just like, they were horrified.
As they should be. It should be legal.
And so, problem is, this is the Blue Ridge Mountains, the source of some of the cleanest water in the United States. These data centers use, like in Georgia, 29 millions of gallons of water for free. One data center.
They stole it.
Yeah. Another data center was projected to use pretty much the entire county's yearly supply within 4 months.
And to my own shame or whatever, I haven't looked into what are they doing with the water. Is it just being reclaimed, ran through and pumped out? Is it being recycled? What's the actual deal between you're shaking your head? This is not for you to answer.
Yeah.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about us. Because here's my dumbass. I think about if they took my power away today, what could I do to not be inconvenienced?
Yeah.
And you're going to have all these solar nerds going, if you get solar, you don't go. And that's true.
Yeah.
If you get a generator, then you don't have to. And that's also true. And it all boils back to this. If you can survive a hurricane and not be inconvenienced, you can survive this.
Yeah.
So I think we'd be okay.
We would.
Because I would put solar everywhere. And it would be, you'd be structured. You'd have to pretend like you're living in a cabin or whatever. But if these data center go up, data centers, and your own local government is basically like, screw you people, what are you going to do if you live in a city? I mean, there should be, somebody needs to say, we're making laws.
Yeah.
And the laws are this. You can't take more than these resources. You can't take from this community. You have to operate within the confines because it's not regulated. And nuclear power, heavily regulated. Gas, heavily regulated. Electricity, water, all of that is heavily regulated. Why are these data centers not being regulated?
And it's funny because those things...
We should be regulating the hell out of all this stuff because that's what we like to do.
Yeah. And all of those things that you listed off, nuclear, oil, water, electricity, stuff like that, they're heavily regulated, and they were regulated within a very short time of them becoming active.
Well, within 50 years.
Yeah, which, if you think about it, is a relatively short time.
It is, but these aren't being regulated at all.
These aren't being regulated at all. information and technology moves at the speed of light.
Well, these huge changes that are
Yeah.
affecting communities is almost instantaneous. There should have been somebody jumping in on this.
And we don't have 50 years to make these decisions anymore. We have less than weeks or months. And in one case, a $1 billion Microsoft data center is going to cause or could cause half of the country of Kenya to lose power.
Yeah.
A whole country.
Yeah. That's what makes me wonder what is really going on with these data centers. Why do we even need them?
And why can't they run off solar?
Well, because solar is, solar is completely inefficient. People say that solar is, and it's not. It's completely inefficient. Your best solar panel maybe gets 30% efficiency. So you'd have to have half the country of Kenya with solar panels and a means to store the power in order to make that work. Wind turbines, not that efficient. They're huge. The infrastructure is large. They cause damage to environmental stuff. And a lot of these places that you go that have these big, huge solar wind turbines out there whipping around in the desert, there's no power transmission lines. They're just there for a tax credit or a tax break. Because I've noticed that. We've seen them. We're like, well, let's go look at them. Where's the power lines? Oh, they're all underground. No, they're not. They're just not there. So it makes me wonder. So I don't really know what these data centers.
Yeah.
And the thing is that when somebody comes out and has a plausible idea of what these data centers are actually for and why we actually need them, it's going to be such a misinformation campaign.
Yeah.
You're just a nut job conspiracy theorist, Now, what if all these data centers are going up in a hurry, right? To combine and have all this computing power to keep the asteroid that's hurtling towards us from destroying the planet. And they need quantum computers and they need the data to be able to figure out a solution for all of this. That is just as plausible as any other theory you could have about this.
Sure.
What if, though?
Yeah.
What if it's a secret multinational thing? We've got to protect the planet. We got to save ourselves. But our computers aren't smart enough to figure it out. Let's put them all together.
No.
How do you know?
Because I said so.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that works that way. Maybe in this house, but not out in the world. So, I don't know. I just think it's kind of nutty. So we got a couple more things to talk about. We're going to wrap up the podcast, and we do appreciate you listening so far. If you're still listening, if you're not listening, or you're missing out on some good talk, hot chaff, as Mysterious Universe guys used to say. And those guys, they turned over their podcast to new hosts from Mysterious Universe, and I'll be honest, I don't like it. And then they shut down their new podcast after about 13 episodes because they didn't like it either. They were like, we don't like it. We're done. We got to figure out something else to talk about. And they said, we'll be back in 2027 with something new and better. It's like, well, good, because it seemed like for as much talking about how they were going to do their podcast and everything, they didn't really know what the hell they were doing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get why they would. Anyway, they could have just stopped posting every single week and maybe they could. There's so many different ways to handle it, but it is what it is. Okay, so one of the things we put in the podcast, which I thought was pretty interesting, and we'll talk about in just a second, but there's things that we do talk about periodically with paranormal, cryptid, and weird news type stuff, but mainly towards cryptid and paranormal.
Yeah.
Where like schools are offering like certificates now, parapsychology and things like that.
Oh.
And towns and cities are adopting cryptids as their little local animal or state animal or whatever. And now you've got museums wanting paranormal inspired or flavored art to make art exhibits and things like that. And now one place is looking for a director, and this is a job.
Oh.
For a, what was it called? Director of Paranormal Affairs. And I'm trying to find a link. I've lost my own link.
And mine's just deciding to move super slow.
Maybe them data centers make our internet work better. Or maybe the data center, right, is taking away our computing power and our internet capability.
Okay.
So this is in Georgia. So Georgia seeks a director of paranormal affairs. And this is from Tim Banal at Coast to Coast. We like Tim Banal. He seems to be thinking. Anyway, and so right? To embrace its spooky side, a Georgia city has put out the call for a director of paranormal activities and his tourism group, right? This is in Macon, Georgia. Reportedly listed the odd position in late April with a cleverly written solicitation seeking someone to serve as lead ghost tour guide for the notoriously haunted community. Right? And it says you will serve as narrator, historian, host, and occasional instigator. And that's what it reads in the job posting. And guiding guests through a world where fact, folklore, and theatrical mischief blur together. And so the Ghoul's position is the city's attempt at tapping into the increasingly popular high strangeness tourism market.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
Now, it won't be long before we see listed in local community, maybe local government, a director of paranormal activity, where it'll be an official job. You shake your head no, but it will happen.
I am in charge of my entire county's
You settle down.
paranormal advertising.
But is
for the
that
year.
your job title? Paranormal activity mistress?
No.
Mistress
However,
of paranormal activity
I
directors?
am looking at Visit Macon, and I am qualified for this job.
There's only one problem, though. It's in Georgia.
Exactly.
And it's in Macon.
But here's the thing. For everyone who thinks that their paranormal investigation certificate will qualify them for this position, you will also need tourism and travel market experience.
Yeah, because this is one of those things where they're giving it a catchy title and they're rolling in 5 different jobs to one, and they expect you to do all 5 jobs.
Yep. So make sure you have your sales experience, your marketing experience,
Sure.
your digital marketing experience.
Because they want you there to make money
Oh, yeah.
for the community.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, director of paranormal, what was it again? Director of paranormal
Affairs.
Yes. Interesting. But yeah, paranormal, and it's taken a while, I think, for a lot of this to sort of trickle out and become more main place or main, what do you call it? Anyway,
Mainstream.
Mainstream. There you go.
Yeah.
I don't know why I couldn't think of it. But you know what's going to happen?
What?
As it's already happened, things get so diluted, nobody gives a crap anymore. And what happens? The interest in wanes to the point where...
And you'll go from being director of paranormal affairs to director of
tourism.
state's largest yard sale.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to round out the podcast with this last thing. I'll talk about... let's do this. Let's talk about some UFO stuff real quick.
Okay.
So a long time ago, Goldie Hawn said that she met aliens.
Okay.
And that she was actually touched by one of these triangle-headed aliens. It was like being touched by the finger of God.
Oh.
It's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's pretty crazy. But she's still shacked up with Kurt Russell. Mm-hmm. And Kurt Russell had his own sort of experience with UFOs. Kurt Russell was flying a small plane when he seen the Phoenix lights and called it in.
Yeah,
So you got Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn have both had sort of unique UFO type experiences. That's kind of weird, right? I mean, her story is crazy, where she talks about, these silver triangle headed aliens who touched her face, and she was on, I think Jimmy Kimmel when she talked about it, where she talked about they're silver creatures with triangular shaped heads. And she's serious about it. And she's like, I suddenly remembered they touched my face.
That if you, what's the guy who, if you're very much into like Whitley Strieber's writings, that's very in line with a lot of the 60s era experiences.
Yeah.
So I think.
Well, she said it happened in the 60s.
Yeah. So, and if you listen to Kurt Russell's story, it's very unique. And I don't think I don't know. I do think it's very much serendipity that these two are a couple, and they've been a couple for a long time, and I love them both. So, yeah.
Yeah, she was skinny like Twiggy. She was on I can't think of that show now, but anyway. So she's been around for a long time. I just thought that was kind of unique. So I put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, wait a minute. Kurt Russell did something too. Mm. And They owned a house in
Laughing.
New Mexico. Yeah, that's what it is, Laughing.
Yeah.
And they own a ranch in New Mexico, I think. I don't know if they still do or not. And their son used to play hockey. I learned that from Dave. So, our best buddy and New Mexico correspondent.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Oh. It was the Rogers Mountain Ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah. They owned
I'm surprised she hasn't made more reports of seeing some weird, because New Mexico's got weird stuff whizzing around there a lot, and you can look at the sky and see all sorts of crazy
But
things.
they sold it in 2010, and now they have the,
Something in Idaho.
I think they have a different ranch now.
They probably own the Madison Ranch. So, in Idaho or Montana or wherever, he did that show. So, all right, so one more, we're going to wrap up the podcast. Previous podcast, we talked about this person setting a swarm of bees to attack somebody, and I thought that they had trained the bees and like, bees attack, and they attack, and that was not the case.
Yeah.
Well, and an accused witch doctor summons a swarm of bees to a courthouse in Uganda.
Oh.
So I'm thinking this may be more along the lines of what I'm looking for. I haven't read the article, but I put it in here because I wanted to see if maybe this dude can really send the attack bees, right? So it says, in a strange story out of Uganda, an accused witch doctor seemingly summoned a swarm of bees to the courthouse and unleashed chaos upon the proceedings.
Oh.
And so this was in Mbale.
Yeah.
And it says the unnamed defendant prepared to stand trial for proverbial dark arts, because you can still go and be arrested for being a witch.
Yep.
Right? The building was suddenly filled with bees, sending workers running for cover and bringing the court business to an immediate halt. Eerily, the accused witch doctor is said to have sat perfectly still and was totally unbothered by the bees as the people around him frantically fled the scene. And so word of the weird incident spread quickly online in Uganda, with many people arguing that this has been seen in the past with the purported practice. How do you say that?
Practitioner.
Dang. Practitioners of the dark arts, and the appearance of the bombastic bugs was a demonstration of the man's magical powers.
Yeah.
And more skeptical individuals were suggesting that the situation was merely a peculiar coincidence, regardless of which count is correct.
I mean,
One
considering
imagines that this isn't
the worldwide bee shortage, and this dude was able to get a whole bunch of them in one place, I'm starting to believe he's a witch doctor.
Yeah,
So
maybe he's got a little bee control, and that was also by Tim Banal
yeah.
off Coast to Coast. So I thought it was pretty cool. But I think at this point we're probably done talking, because we've been talking for a minute.
Yeah.
So, and thinking's hard. Anyway, we do appreciate you taking time to listen to CreepGeeks Podcast. This has been Season 10, Episode 360. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, let us know. We do have a website you can go. We're on all social medias. And if you know.
Oh, yeah. And people start participating in the Facebook group. I know we had a couple of posts that were being held by new users. Please post.
Yeah.
We had to freeze posting for a while because we had a little spammer action happening, but that should be fixed. Please start sending us messages, reaching out to us.
Sure. Use that toll-free number, send a message, because that's probably the best way to get.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it on the podcast. We have no shame when it comes to that sort of thing. But anyway, any questions, comments, concerns, let us know. We appreciate you taking time to listen. So see you later. Take it easy. Bye, Sickle.
Bye.